What happens when you finally succeed? It doesn't feel the way you thought it would. We expected success to fix us, but it doesn't. Success doesn't erase our insecurities. What do we do as entrepreneurs, high achieving men? Head down, grind it out, miss the journey, get to the goal, and then go, that sucks too. He finally hit his revenue goal. All the things he wanted, the house on the hill, the Lambo, everything he wanted, he got. A week later, he called me and said, Gary, I feel empty. So the key question here is, if success alone was enough, why do so many high achievers still feel unfulfilled? In this episode, I'm going to break down why high achievers often experience a success hangover and why big wins sometimes leave us feeling worse instead of better, and the 3 things you could do to make sure your success actually feels like you're winning and it's fulfilling. Welcome to The Inside Man. I'm Gary Kadi. You can call me GK. And today we're tackling something that most high achievers don't expect. What happens when you finally succeed? It doesn't feel the way you thought it would. You set your goal, you put it into work, you cross the finish line, and instead of feeling at the top of the world, you feel empty, lost, like something's missing. In this episode, I'm going to break down why high achievers often experience a success hangover and why big wins sometimes leave us feeling worse instead of better, and the 3 things you could do to make sure your success actually feels like you're winning and it's fulfilling. But before we dive in, never miss an episode. Make sure you subscribe, click the bell. And if this resonates with you, please share it with a friend and comment below. It helps me. It helps us. It helps us reach more people. And we want to help more guys feel like this is the way to go. This is a possible way for me to find a way to get some peace and some contentment under my belly. So let's make the key point here, which is why success sometimes feels hollow. You see, I didn't know this, but we expected success to fix us, but it doesn't. You see, we assume once we hit our goal, we make the money or we get recognition, we finally feel at peace. But we've already proven that that doesn't work. But success doesn't erase our insecurities that's underneath what we're driving for on the outside man. But the inside man, we have our insecurities. We have our stuff that's going on inside of us that we basically are told to rub dirt in it. And all it does is just amplifies what's already there. You see, the chase and the problem solving and all the stuff becomes our identity. And high achievers don't know who they are without a struggle. If we're not struggling, if we don't have problems, if we're not anxious, then we don't know who we are. Like, who would we be, right? Once you reach the top, we also don't know what's next. So we either create new problems. And I remember talking with Tony. We were at a session and he was like, I invent problems for myself so I can fix it. And he was like saying, I'll never forget it. He was like, do you know who the biggest arsonists are? Firemen. Yeah, because if they don't have fires to put out, they're creating them. I thought that was really interesting, right? So the key here is that we also, the key to this, like where the problem lies, is that we keep moving our goalposts. Instead of like celebrating, my team used to rail me for this. They were like, we just won the game. We just got it all done. Like, let's maybe take an hour or two and like have a happy hour and celebrate. But where did I go? We got to go right into the next goal. It's like, put the head down, got it done, go on. See, the brain, my brain was addicted to the pursuit, not the actual achievement. See, it's the journey. We don't want to hang out in the journey. Here's what we do. We live in no man's land. We live with our feet firmly planted in midair, and we never get to fulfillment and we never get to our real goals. And what's really important, we just get on this addiction to the pursuit of them. See, really where life is lived is in the present and enjoying the journey. What do we do as entrepreneurs, high achieving men? Head down, grind it out, miss the journey, get to the goal, and then go, that sucks too. I don't want to deal with that. Vicious cycle. So the key question here is, if success alone was enough, why do so many high achievers still feel unfulfilled? That's the question we're going to go to answer. And, one of the things is I remember the exact moment when I realized that winning wasn't enough. I remember when I spent years chasing one major business milestone. I told myself, when I hit this number, I can finally relax. And by the way, this is really, really fun. I want to tell you a story of the gentleman who helped me write my first book. It was called $1 Million Dentistry. By the way, this is the book here. I want to share it with you. Here, this is it. This is like long ago. I wrote it in 2005. He goes, "What is your goal for the book?" And I said, I want to attract 6 guys and, 6 business owners. And I want to, I'll generate $1 million for them, and they'll pay me 10% of that. I think that's fair. That's what I want to do. So, and by the way, 7,000 clients later, I just got off the phone with him. He goes, "Gary, do you remember you said you wanted 6 clients and you have over 7,000 now?" So that's pretty amazing. But the thing about it was, when I hit that 600,000 in my first year, I was like, whatever, I got to get it to 1 million. Then when I got to 1 million, I got to get it to 5. And then it went from there. And so, it's living in what I call the someday whens, maybe never. Someday when, and I said this too, I'm going to live in the someday whens. Someday when I'm skinny and sexy, inside, believing it myself, which was never, then I'm going to meet a beautiful wife of my dreams. Then I'm going to have a family. Then I'm going to, live a life of pure bliss, watching that all unfold. And it wasn't the case. What ended up happening was, I started getting old and going, man, I better make changes, right? And, life changed from there. But, there was never a massive wave of satisfaction happening, by the way. That was not there. See, instead, I felt nothing. I just heard the unevictable inner roommate saying, "All right, dude, what's next? Because that's not enough. You're not enough. You need to do more." And it wasn't on my choice. You know whose choice it was? My unevictable inner roommate, who sits there on the couch and, basically eats cheesecake all day and watches reruns of like the Flintstones, and then he's giving me advice. And I'm like, no, no. And for those of you that don't know the Flintstones, it was this family from Bedrock. Look it up online. Anyway, instead of feeling like this massive wave of satisfaction through all the things, and I've built, huge business, built an empire, sold it, I'm still an advisor there, started this. I can't believe what's happening. But like this time, when we hit 2,000 subscribers to the podcast, I sat and I just thought about all the men and their families and their teams, and lived in gratitude about that and celebrated that, at least for a day. Because now, of course, there is that thing that you never lose your edge. And I'm a gamer. So I'm like, all right, let's double it. Let's see if we can double it. In 1 month, we had 2,000. And my podcast coach, so I can do this well for you, I hired the best in the world, Mike Liguri. He's just, amazing guy. And I share him with you just because he helped me realize this is like what I was born to do. This is who I am. This is what all the trials and tribulations have happened so that I can codify it in a way and hand it to you in a way that you can go use it with yourself, your family, your team, etc. So sitting back and enjoying the process and enjoying and celebrating along the way, and hearing from you, and please keep that coming because it's really valuable. And it's just awesome because I get to hear some of the things you apply and some of the things that have worked and really where you're struggling. I love hearing those too, because we can together walk through it, And I want to bring up a client. I work with this guy, I like using client examples because then it really paints a good picture for not just, that I'm being a student of this work as I teach it. I'm a teacher and a student, that application of this is really happening. And I'm the kind of guy that I share information, but I think information alone has no value. Information plus implementation is really where the value proposition is, and the life-changing stuff and the impact stuff that happens. And I was working with this guy, Dan. I love Dan. I worked with him for 10 years building his dream business. This dude, he transformed a whole industry. I mean, he brought in a new organization, a new association that established a new way of thinking inside of this industry. It was amazing. He wrote a book. He finally hit his revenue goal and like all the things he wanted, the house on the hill, the Lambo, everything he wanted, he got. And a week later, he called me and said, Gary, I feel empty. Why would I feel so empty? And I said, Dan, you've been so focused on the climb that you never considered what life could look like and why, designing your life, because you were fulfilling on the insecurities, the inadequacies, that's why we went through the imposter syndrome with you. And because you didn't really look at life after you reached the top. It was just about you climbing to the top, and you did that. But it was like, why are you doing it? Where are you going next? And we're like really looking at that and not creating a business that comes from here and the inadequacies, but from your heart and what your true purpose is in life. And because of that, his biggest win felt like a letdown in the past. But he really wanted to get to work on the next chapter, and he needed a guide to climb the next mountain. Not through effort, force, and power, and fulfilling on his inadequacies, or he didn't get validated by his father. So like he was trying to get that attention and never got it, even so. And his dad passed, and he realized that he was living life for everybody else, but not for his choice. And so the moral of the story is if you don't redefine success beyond just winning, you'll never feel like you've arrived when you get to that location. And so how do we make success more meaningful? And that's really Inside Man principles that we have on each podcast. The first thing is I like to give you like 3 things that you can start like practically practicing in your world. The first thing is, man, celebrate your wins, not just chase the next one. And that also comes from acknowledging yourself. See, you can't transform your relationship with the people around you until you go inside and go to work on yourself. And like, acknowledge yourself for creating value today and making an impact. Like, just practice this. Like, take the moment of celebrating, because if you don't do that, you're going to always feel like you're losing. You're always going to feel like you're dealing with problems, even when you're winning. Like, winning becomes like a fog, because you actually can't even see when you're winning, because you're so focused in on fixing the problems and moving to the next thing. Success needs to be felt inside, not just achieved. So here's your action step. After every win, I want you to, in the major ones, schedule time to reflect, to celebrate, and acknowledge yourself. And I know that that's hard, because that inner roommate's telling you suck. And acknowledge the process, not just what's next. The other thing you might want to do, and I have these cards next to my desk now, and it forces me to handwrite letters to the people that helped me get whatever got created. And see, I was always in my own world, and being of service and sending a letter to somebody in handwritten terms slows me down. And really, when they receive that, it makes a big impact. The other thing it does is, when you acknowledge someone else outside you, you're acknowledging the part of you that can see that goodness. I always say, if you can spot it in somebody else first, it means you got it for yourself. But we never acknowledge the part of that that's us. I used to latch on to the unevictable inner roommate eating cheesecake and having no purpose himself and thinking he's my advisor, and listening to, believing, and responding. And now I'm learning to separate that voice in my head. I hear it, but I don't listen to it, and I don't give it juice. I just say, thank you for sharing. I put it on the shelf, and I go, what do I want to create? The I that's me. And we're going to keep identifying, who is this I that's me? If it's not the inner roommate, then who is it? Now, I can't get to that. It's going to be a little time over a few podcasts. But as you listen, you're going to start hearing it. You're going to start identifying the you that you are, not your thoughts, not your feelings. And when you can get to that point, all of a sudden, you're starting to create from what you choose to create, not the pain and traumas of your past. And it's a game changer, guys. I'm telling you, it is so juicy, so fulfilling, calming. It brings contentment. It brings peace. And by the way, it allows you to create way more than you can create with all this busyness and all this mashugana going on. See, the second step, first step is learn to celebrate wins, right? and those around you, not just chase the next one. Number two is to shift from outcome-based goals to fulfillment-based goals. All right. So yes, we all need numbers. Reverse engineer how much you need to make to be solvent. And those are your KPIs. And then you can break it down by person. And then you can break it down by or department. Then you can break it down by person. And then all of a sudden you have structure and control. But I want you as the owner to start moving out of just numbers driven living to about how you feel when you're achieving it. See, most fulfillment high performers don't ask, what do I want to do to accomplish something? They ask, what kind of life do I want to create? You see, that's very different. And if you start looking at a design element of your life versus a defaulted life that you just defaulted into, we're moving from a defaulted outcome-based life to a designed, fulfilled life. So here's your action steps. Redefine your success beyond your metrics. What does winning look like in your relationships, in your health, in your wealth, and your personal peace? Let me give you an example. You're going to meet Jim Du. Jim Du is our in-resident wealth advisor. He created the Entrepreneurs Virtual Family Office. He worked with billionaires and teaches billionaires strategies. And at the center of his genius model is make rich real. Make rich real. So I'm going to use this as an example so you can steal this and swipe it and use it for yourself. And he asks all of his clients, he says, how do you know that you're wealthy? And everybody has a different definition about that. And he uses this example of, his in-laws don't have a lot of money. And one of his examples when he first started this company was like, be able to provide for my family and not have to look and figure out if I have enough money or not. And his mother-in-law's air conditioner broke down, and he just wrote a check, called the guy up and I was going to say write a check. That's old school. That ages me. He just paid for it. He just paid for it. And it was like done. What does make rich real for you is another way to say, it's not about the numbers. It's about like the feeling of how much you have to make rich real. So what is like running your business? How do you know like this is fulfilling for you? And people don't look at that other dynamic. It's always like basically, a millionaire living paycheck to paycheck and just running to the next game, making payroll, doing this, maybe thinking about, scaling and selling, but it never really gets to that point. We just get caught in the mire in the day-to-day stuff. So that's number two. Number three is, and this is core inside man basics, really get to your purpose. And I really help a lot of guys get to their purpose. I work with a gentleman who's in wealth management, and he found his purpose. And he just, you could just talk and maybe you do this with your spouse. Like, what do you think my purpose is? Because they can help pull it out of you. See, a purpose is already there. And what he noticed was embracing challenges and solving those challenge problems are what he came up with. And embracing challenge is a very powerful purpose because most people avoid challenge. He turns into it and looks at it and stares at it and brings it to him. And I said, that is a powerful purpose. Not everybody has that unique soul purpose. So he got to see that. And once you start seeing your purpose, what happens is you can't unsee it, right? But it's been clouded by the shame, the guilt, the unevictable inner roommate, getting busy, being in survival. And so just like Michelangelo had the brick of marble and he carved away the pieces that weren't the David. What we're doing here at Inside Man Podcast is we're carving away the pieces of you that just have clouded who you truly are. And once you get to know who you truly are, you have goodness in your soul. And then from there, you can get your purpose. And then when you come from your purpose, look at the difference. Outside man, my purpose is to get my dad's attention. Inside man, my purpose, and I'll give you mine, is giving people the freedom to be, do, and have whatever they want to whatever they want to be, do, and have. So beingness is how you show up for yourself and others. We do a lot of work in that area. Doing this is like, okay, but you might be in your business and you started as a doer and now you're just doing everything and now you hate life. And then have is like getting out of the way of the value you're creating and the reciprocal value that comes back. A lot of people can't receive the value that they're creating in the world, and they block the blessings. So finding your purpose, connecting to that purpose, and when you go to work every morning, operating from the ground of that purpose. And when you do that, oh man, you can then feel, I saw a guy outside my office here. It said, just go rub dirt in it. Just rub dirt in it. See, we're not rubbing dirt in it. See, fulfillment comes from feeling. And if you can't feel, you can't heal. If you can't feel, you can't heal. And I believe this life is about going through a process of healing before we die, because we started out as a free spirit as a kid. Then life happens. We close down. And if you notice, if you've ever walked anybody to heaven, which I have a lot lately, there's this reconciliation there. They apologize. They clean up. Let's do that. There's this thing called the Swedish death cleanse. Through all these people dying, I have to call 1-800-JUNK on them and have tractor trailers haul out all this BS that they've been hoarding. And really all we want are the letters they sent us and the pictures they have, because it's really about the fulfilling memories we get to have along the way that we remember. But the crap we're hoarding and the things we think we need that are fulfilling on an identity, that identity is made up anyway. You get to see how funny really life is. But connecting to a purpose, and it's your choice for your purpose. Now all of a sudden it's not somebody else's, whatever they gave you. I have this friend, he's Indian. He goes, yeah, they told me to be a medical doctor. And if I wasn't that, I was dead. And it's like, I never choose to do this. And it's like, we tend to end up in places that we didn't even choose to be there. This is your choice. You can still do the same thing. But once you tag it to your purpose and it's directly connected, boom, all of a sudden you're feeling better. You love going to work. When the problems arise, they don't become problems. Really, they're just a path on the journey to the top of the mountain, but it has meaning along the way. So, we're unpacking a lot of stuff today. But the key takeaway here is success isn't just about reaching your goals. It's about creating a life that you actually enjoy. Enjoy it now, because 30 goes to 40, 40 to 50, 50 to 60. Before you know it, you're ready to take a dirt nap and you look back. Don't have regrets. That's the inside man. The inside man is telling you, you can have all these experiences now, not when you retire. Let's call it rewire, and you rewire how you work and what you're connected to and what's really important and what creates meaning and feeling and fulfillment in your life. That is the game. See, if wins feel empty, it's time to redefine how you define success and what it means to you, and stop the madness. Here's the other thing, call to action. Take a snapshot of this QR code right here. Go to GaryKadi.com and see all the free stuff I got on there. Also, hey, if this is speaking to you, I want to work with you. I'm going to work with a handful of dudes this year, and we're going to crush it. And we're going to do this work, and we're going to run deep. And it might sound scary to you. And that means that do something you're scared of. So check it out. Get on my calendar if you're interested. I would love to talk to you, because I'm forming a group and leading a movement of men. We are leading a group of 100,000 men. I just finally decided on my vision of 100,000 inside men, because the way I look at it is, if 100,000 men operate from these principles that I'm sharing, that I've been gifted, that I never knew about, and having them all in one place and having all of life work, imagine 100,000 men and what their kids would be like, what their spouses would be like, what their workplaces would be like. And that to me is just insanity, so exciting. So you'll be a part of the founders group, the first group of men that go through this. And I want to see you. I want to work with you. And I want you to blow it up. And then we're going to start giving it away to other guys. And that's how we're going to get to 100,000 men to transform how they operate. I'm going to give it to you, and you're going to go give it to them. And then they're going to give it on to them. It's the pay it forward model, right? So This is Gary Kadi. I'm reminding you that success should feel like freedom, not just another freaking finish line. And I'll see you on the next episode.